And go. Oh yes. Oh yes. Good morning. Good morning. It is I, your host, PoGokeRo, with yet another fantastic, amazing episode of Redstone LAPIS LAZULI. Oh yes. Hello. Good morning. Oh yeah, rocket. Check it. Happy Sunday morning. It is working the levels here. It's pretty good. How y'all doing? Let's see, is that too loud? 50 here and 50 here. All right, let's see how that goes. All right, yeah. Good morning. Here I am. I'm in my base, and I'm in my base, and I'm drinking my coffee. And it's dark out there, but here, let me fix that real quick. Yeah, good morning. Welcome back to my world in progress here. Let's observe the map. We see here this is where I reside. That's my base. And down here's the farm, and we see like a new path here up there. And it goes to these, when it hits the trading hall, there's these 4 circles there. Oh my goodness, let's go check out what that is. You see I've got a little bit of brown wool, but I don't have nearly enough. So I need to make, because I want to make carpet to make this place look a little bit better. And yeah, it's like the only color I have. So what I need to do is make an automatic wool farm. And like my checklist of things I need to do is growing faster than my checklist of completed. I just can't do things fast enough. There's just too much to do. And like I have life, like real life to go do. So like I can't live in Minecraft. Oh yeah, you see I made the stairs, like, and I moved stuff. So now the door's way over here. I don't think I like this anymore. It's too far out of the way. But yeah, that's where it is right now. But I had to make room for the staircase. Okay, look at this. This is like broken. Hey, look, I can go outside. And look, we got like a cheesy rail system here, rail line. So let me hop in. Oh, look, how nice. No more running needlessly back and forth between my 2 bases. Or my 2 buildings. So yeah, and like, oh my goodness, this ugly thing above my head. What is this ugly thing above my head? Well, I noticed that this is full of crops. How wonderful. Look at that, full of crops. Like, did I pick them? Did I do that? No, I didn't do that. It was this setup here. Oh yeah. This is the auto crop farm. So these guys are farmers. They're just farming. That's their life. They're protected by this glass so they don't get rained on or anything. And protected by these walls so no monsters come and kill them. And what they do is they just grow crops. And then they come to this guy in the middle. There's a guy in there. In the middle. Here, let me see. Can I do it right here? Yep. Oh, nope. It fell all the way in. Oh, well. There's a guy in there with a bell. That bell makes this place the middle. The meeting place. So all these farmers do their jobs. They pick crops. They plant crops. And then they come over here to the meeting place and then they drop off their crops to that guy in the middle. The problem, well, not the problem, but the solution is in those blocks that are kind of tweaking out. In those blocks are hopper minecarts. Not just hoppers, but hopper minecarts. Hopper minecarts are different than regular hoppers in that they grab items much faster and from a much larger range than just regular hoppers you place on the ground like this. So that means whenever the the farmers try to transfer their crops over to the guy in the middle, the hoppers grab them. The hopper minecarts grab them. And then the hopper minecarts route them into these places down here where I make massive, there it is, ha ha ha, I get just tons and tons of crops. But then you say, well, PoGokeRo, why do you need all these crops? Well, I'll grab 1, 2, 3, 4, and then 1, 2, 3, 4. Just 4 stacks. 4 stacks. And you go over here, and I have a whole bunch of farmers ready to trade with me. Happy farmers who are more than happy to trade a bunch of emeralds for these crops. And with these emeralds, so, I mean, look at, I'm just, until they get, no, I can't, I'm done. All out of crops. And I made 20 emeralds. Look at that. I just continually make new, I get new crops, turn them into emeralds, and then talk to these guys. Well, this guy, I sell rotten flesh. And this guy, I can buy tons of books, like Sharpness 5, like amazing. For 31, and this Sharpness 5 is 28. This guy doesn't have a job yet. But yeah, all these librarians are hooked up. So, I spent a lot of time to make this. It took a long time. It was, like, unfortunate. Because I had to rearrange my entire building. While I was standing here testing to see if this crop farm worked, I got attacked by baby zombies and regular zombies and skeletons and all sorts of bad creatures, and I lost some villagers because baby zombies can go in between the spaces here and attack the villagers directly. You know, they don't get stopped by this. They can run in between. So baby zombies killed a bunch of my villagers because I guess there was a hole or something. None of these floors match. They're just totally wrong. None of these floors match. So I had to somehow make all these uneven floors, like floor 3 is in floor 2 and floor 1 are like this. There's no straight line. So I had to like find all the holes. I had to reroute this thing, find all the holes, fill the holes. And man, this thing just looks ugly. But now I have proper staircases for the loading dock here. And the breeding pod. I have my guy in here who I need to cure. I still need to cure this guy. But then once I cure him, I don't know what to do with him. So maybe I'll just leave him there and trade with him for a bit. So yeah, that was all my work. I spent all that time doing that. It took entirely too much time. But in a way, it's kind of nice, right? I get out of... Oh wait, this thing is terrible. Alright, so this looks awful. I'm going to change things. Let me change stuff here. I'm going to be right back. So stop recording. Stop. Alright, okay, this should have improved. I changed it from 180 to 720p because I have terrible internet connection. So, oh yeah, this is looking better. Are we looking better? Smoother? Yeah, dude, yeah. Here, get the music going. Alright guys, sorry about that. That looks a lot better. That looks a lot smoother. No more of this choppy stuff, right? Oh, look at now it's in 60 frames per second. That's what I want to see. Alright, I'm gonna have to edit out that beginning. Yeah, that didn't work so good. Okay. Anyways, I had to protect my villagers here from zombies that kept spawning inside my base and from outside from holes. They had all these holes. Now I have a pathway in for villagers to come in, like that's sanitized, so that everything's cool. And I have to go out and find villagers who are sick, and then I can cure them. But yeah. It's all set up. Like, it's set up really well. And so because of this great setup, I spent a bunch of time to create god, like, or deity, like, magical enchanted items. Like, these magical enchanted items give me unprecedented power within my world. Let me show off my showcase here. Here we have Mind Caliber. It's sweeping edge 3, sharpness 5, looting 3, unbreaking 3, and mending. Yay! So it's like an uber sword. I have Excavate, unbreaking 3, fortune 3, efficiency 5, and mending. Oh, awesome! I have the Zombie Slayer, efficiency 5, smite 5. So this thing is great for killing zombies in one hit, and mending. Then I have my Dirt Be Gone shovel with silk touch, right? So I can pick up nice things. And then I have that's it, yeah. And then I have like my armor, my helmet of everything except for Aqua Affinity. I gotta put that on there. And my diamond. All of this needs thorns. And so I need to find a librarian with thorns. But yeah, otherwise I'm like looking fat. I'm looking great. So I'm at the point now in the game where I can start advancing to either expand my base. Well, I need to make it prettier, but I mean, it's looking pretty good. What I need is to get this ugly thing. Well, it's not ugly. It's a beautiful thing, but it doesn't belong here in my base. It belongs over there in the trading hall. So I need to move this thing, get it out, and move it over there. Then I have to make a melon farm. So that's 2 farms I have to make. A melon farm and a sugarcane farm over there. Then I need to destroy this. I don't need this anymore. Well, maybe to grow wheat, but yeah, that's about it, to grow wheat. Yeah. So, what else? Oh, I have my iron farm. I have my villager farm. I have my crop farm. Yeah, all I need is a gold farm. Once I make a gold farm, then I can make rails, powered rails. That's the thing that's holding me back right now, are powered rails. Powered rails are made from gold, and you don't get very many powered rails for the gold that you use. And if you look here, in the construction of my thing here, I use powered rails everywhere. I am not at all conservative with my use of powered rails. The powered rails are the yellow rails. But yeah, I use them everywhere. I use so much powered rail. And over there too. So much powered rail. So, and that's all gold. And the only way I get gold is by mining. And gold is really rare. It's like almost as rare as diamonds. So if you're making, and you cannot put mending on gold to get more gold. I mean, like, at least with diamond gear, you can put mending on it so it lasts forever. Or until you die with it and lose it. But gold, you don't have anything. So there are 2 things I need to do, like my plans. Besides making a paper farm over there and a melon farm over there, I have to make a gold farm in the Nether, because I don't have enough obsidian to make a gold farm in the overworld in the way I did in Bedrock. So I have to make this gold farm in the Nether. And to do that, you just need a lot of platforms, but you also need turtle eggs. to get turtle eggs, you need, I need to make turtles mate. But turtles have a funny way of mating, and so I need to find an ocean. Then I need to get seagrass. Then I have to find turtles. Then I have to get them to mate. Then I have to follow one of the turtles back to their home beach, where they will lay an egg, or lay maybe multiple eggs. And then when they do, I can harvest those eggs with a silk touch tool. It has to be silk touch because they'll break. And then I can use those eggs to bring them into the nether, and they will aggro all the pigmen. The pigmen try to kill the eggs, and I put trapdoors there, so they all fall into a fall chamber where I can hit them and get experience and gold. And with that gold, I can finally start making a train station and rails to nice places. I mean, I don't even know what's around me. I mean, I've found a few places, but yeah. I can't duplicate rails. Maybe I can if I researched, but I don't want to dupe rails. Come on. That's cheating. That's cheating. Like, none of this here is cheating. This is all like in the game. So I mean, I guess duping is in the game, but still, it's an exploit. I don't know if this is an exploit too, but whatever. It's using the game rules, actually. It's not even exploiting. So yeah, this is the day X, but I meant to call it something else. I meant to call it the X day, because I made it on July 5th, which is so X day iron farm designed by Ray's Works 7/5/19. All right, that's in reference to the Church of Bob. I think it's called, which is, it's an honest church because it's a for-profit corporation. So, and they worship Bob. And Bob made this prediction that on X Day, which was July 5th, I forget what year, that it would be the end of the world. And every day, every July 5th, there's a celebration and an explanation why it didn't happen this time. But to prepare for the next time when it does happen for sure. All right, I like that. Sure, I'll call this the X Day Iron Farm. I finished it on July 5th. Yeah. So we're preparing with iron golems, and designed by Ray's Works. I like it. Okay. So yeah, I've given you my future vision of what I need to do on here. I need to maybe mine up enough gold to make a rail, I guess in the nether, to the ocean, so I can, and make a new base there so I can find turtle eggs, so I can make a gold farm, so I can make more rails. But yeah, I have the tools now that I finally need. Hold on a second. What's going on? I think my kitty cat is learning, is trying to sharpen his claws on the screen. That's a bad idea. Oh, I know. I'm sorry, kitty cats. You can't keep it open because you scratched the screen open. Alright, everyone's sleeping. Nice. I'm gonna go to sleep too. Hey, everyone can go to sleep. So let's talk about a little bit about the news, huh? Alright, so I sound like a little bit like an adult. Alright, so it is our duty as American citizens, as citizens of a democracy, to be informed and to know what's going on. It's our duty. It's our responsibility. So the problem is that capitalism has gotten Americans confused. I think a lot of Americans are confused and think that it's all about the market and that we're here to serve the market. And so if you're serving the market, then your responsibilities are much different than if you're serving democracy, serving a country as a citizen. If you're serving the market as a consumer, then your duties, your responsibilities don't include knowing anything. You don't have to know anything. Like, all you have to do is be a good consumer. That's all they require of you. If that's it. And I think a lot of Americans have fallen into that idea that, oh, we're only consumers, and that my responsibilities have shrunk a great deal. Well, I don't know. Okay, here, let me tell you a story. I went to a tiki party on Friday. I went to this party. I passed by it. I'm like, oh, this is nice. And then I'm like, you know what? I'm going to go check it out. So I checked it out. And it was a fundraiser for a bird conservation place where they basically repurpose native birds from the wild that would have to be euthanized, and they saved their life and say, no, instead of killing you, we're gonna use you to teach other people about things. So I was at this bar downtown, and outside was this young woman holding a beautiful white owl called a raptor. It was a raptor, a white owl. It was beautiful. And she was telling me, yeah, this bird, it has to be rehabilitated, or it has to be put in a sanctuary because it cannot be returned from the wild, because it was taken from its mother at a very young age, or before it was born as an egg, hatched, and it imprinted on humans. So it thinks it's its source of food, and its whole purpose is to hang out with humans, because that's what it imprinted on. That's how birds work. They work on imprinting. And so the first thing you see, that's what your deal is. So yeah, this owl imprinted on humans, and as a baby, because they hatched and it saw humans, and so it's like, oh, humans are my mother, like I'm a human. And so another way of putting it, she said that it's like a giant seagull. Like, it's annoying, it wants food from humans, but the problem is, instead of webbed feet, these things have like sharp talons that will tear your face off. So you cannot put it back in the wild, because it'll hang out with humans and then eventually tear their faces off. And you can't put it in the wild and expect it to survive, because it doesn't know how. It doesn't even do that anymore. It's so far away from that, it has no idea. So you either kill it, or you keep it alive and you care for it, and then teach other people, hey, this is why you don't steal babies from the wild, because then you have to kill them. Or you have to pay to keep them alive. Okay. So I see a lot of these Americans. Capitalism has gotten pretty vicious, pretty hardcore. I know you Americans don't know it, because you think, oh yeah, look at this market, we're doing great. But it's not you who's doing great, it's the rich people who are doing great. You are doing terrible. And sure, you might have a job, but it doesn't pay you enough. And the benefits that you get, the healthcare that you have to pay for, is worthless. And you're paying these taxes, but you're not really getting much back from it. And the people who should be paying the taxes aren't paying the taxes, the rich people. That's why it's a great economy for them, because they're not paying taxes. And they've managed to shift the bill off of them and onto you, the poor people, the taxpayer. I mean, even if you're middle class, you're poor in relation to the uber rich. Right? So even when I'm saying you poor people, I mean you middle class people too. Like, there's not really a distinction, because to the uber rich, middle class is poor. and the policies that benefit the uber rich will puts a downward pressure on the middle class and turns middle class into lower class, into poor, into working poor. I mean, that's the history of the United States. The United States has always relied on unpaid or exploited labor, whether it be from African slaves or imported Chinese labor or imported Japanese labor or the migrant Latino Mexican labor that moved up and down the farms all the way up to Canada and all the way back down to Mexico, just working on farms. That's what they did. They migrated, right? They migrate. Jeez, dude. And then this country comes along, this fascist country comes along and imposes like hard borders. All of a sudden now you have hard borders that are really messing things up. Like this hard border thing only happened after World War I think. Before then, people just flowed between borders. But I guess you didn't have the welfare state either. But the answer to that isn't to exclude people. The answer is to include people, to add more people to it. Like, you don't fix the problem by excluding more people. You fix it by including more people. The more people you add, the better it is. Man, I'm wandering way off target. So Americans are like hatched into a world where they're not taught that they're citizens. They're taught that they're consumers, that they're served the market. So they don't have the right expectations. Like they should expect the government to wisely use their tax dollars to help human beings out and not to help corporations. But yet now Americans are coming to think, oh no, we're just consumers, and that it's our responsibility to figure all this stuff out and to get it on our own. And it's like, no, that's only in the United States. If you go to any other industrialized country, they all have universal health care. The idea where you go bankrupt from medical bills is non-existent in any other country except the United States. We're the only country that bankrupts our people for medical bills. The only one. And how can that happen? Only in a country where the people think that they serve the market. Oh man, and that they go to the market for answers. Instead of looking at each other and expressing and going, oh, we need to fix this problem. How do we do it? All right, let's do it via the government, which is their organ. They literally, like citizens, are literally attached to the government. That's their organ. That's theirs. The citizens, their organ, their thing that, their hands that move things is the government. So they've been taught so a lot of Americans have been taught to, number one, divorce themselves off of their organ. And then number two, hate their own organ. Their own hands. They learn to hate their own hands. And so they become disconnected. They don't know what's going on in the world. And then when you have that void, then you have opportunistic diseases take root. A virus. So our education's, the American education system in certain places, I'm a product of the public education system, and I think I did pretty good. I'm all right. I mean, sure, there could be room for improvement, of course, but public education is not a bad thing. It's a really good thing. We need to have more of it. We shouldn't be diverting resources to private institutions. We need to divert resources to public institutions and figure out what's wrong. And I think a lot of what's wrong is that we're not paying teachers enough. And number two, the families don't have enough support. Because the kids need parents, and parents need to provide. And if parents can't, and to provide, parents need to work. So parents are having a hard time doing two things at once, providing and parenting. That's a lot of stress on the parent. So they need assistance. But our system, our in the United States is designed to make that extremely difficult. Like childcare costs are outrageous. So if you're trying to go to work, then you need someone to take care of your kid while you're at work, and that costs a bunch of money. You almost need a job just to pay for someone else to take care of your kid. That's dumb. That's dumb. That's so stupid. You shouldn't need a job just to pay for someone to take care of your kid so you can have a job. You need 2 jobs then. Like, what's going on? But then how can you be a parent if you have to work 2 jobs? Man, we got massive problems, and we look to the market for solutions, and that's a bad idea. Because maybe you could look to the market for a solution if the market were wide open and you had lots of choices. But our market is dominated by a few large corporations, and they disguise themselves with different names. So that it appears to be a myriad of choices, but when it comes down to it, it's all controlled by a handful of corporations. And so these corporations, while sometimes are efficient and effective, are only going to provide solutions that benefit and profit the corporation. They will never provide a solution that costs them money. And some problems cannot be solved via profit. You just can't do it. There's a lot of things you cannot ethically do for a profit. So the solution will never come from the private sector. It has to come from government. And if you're taught that government is, number one, not you, and number two, your enemy, then you're gonna have a lot of problems. That's gonna create massive headaches. Because you've been made ineffective, and you've given your power to the market. You've been stripped of your power. You think, oh, I serve the market, so I should do what's great for the market. And so that will make you think, oh, look, the economy is doing great for rich people. It must be a great economy. You see how this false consciousness is fallen down into people's brain? And when they think like this, then they become bad citizens, and then they can't effectively solve the problems that befall them. Let me ride that rail. That rail is nice. What I need to do is make a loop. Oh, I made another staircase too. Ha ha ha. So what I need to do is make a loop, so I can talk and still show off this cool place. Maybe after make a gold farm, I'll make a loop. Oh, that'll be fun. So I think one task of ours is to get Americans to associate themselves with their government, their politics, because that's a way of hooking them back into democracy. Like, again, democracy is government by the people, but if the people are disconnected, then you can't have democracy. And there are external forces that are working to wreck our democracy, to convince Americans that democracy can't work and that you need elites to take care of you. So let me start coming down from that. All right, now that I've got this pretty big framework, using the story. Remember, the story comes from my story of the raptor bird who was convinced that she was a pigeon. This raptor was taught that they weren't a raptor, that they're a pigeon. But we're not birds. We don't imprint. We have the capacity for reason, and so we could use our brains and our reason to break patterns. We can do that. We have that power. We're humans. So use your mind that you've strengthened through discipline and practice to break patterns that trap you into a mode of thinking. remember the raptor, beautiful white bird native to Oregon, owl, a predator that was stolen from their parents before they were born. And when they were born, they saw humans and thought, "Oh, these humans, I must be a human. If my parents are humans, I must be a human too." And so now they're a pigeon because they're not a human. And if they try to, the most human they can act is like a pigeon. So the raptor has been stunted. They will never reach their potential. They will never reach their they'll never reach their potential because they were stunted from the very beginning by foolhardy humans who stole them from their parents. So citizens, wake up, guys. You got to know what's going on. You got to know. You got to be aware of what's happening. So, let me tell you a bit about what's going on. The CBO, which is the Congressional Budget Office, released a report detailing the effects of what would happen if you increase the minimum wage, to $10, to $12, and to $15. And what the CBO found was the more you raised the minimum wage, the bigger effect it had in raising people out of poverty. And when you get to $15 an hour, you raised like 11 million people out of poverty. 11 to 15 million people out of poverty. So that's 11 to 15 million people out of poverty using less social resources to maintain their existence. That's 11 more million people contributing more to the lowest rungs of our economy, which always gets filtered up as it goes to the top, because it always goes back to the top. So by putting more money into the bottom, to the poorest people, you increase 11 million people. Now there's a downside. You lose about 1.5 million jobs because of that. So that's 1.5 million people either working jobs they didn't want to work anyways, or losing their job losing their job. But that's a pretty nice payoff, right? You got 10 million people lifted out of poverty and 1.5 million people who lost their job. Maybe they find another job. Maybe they retire. Maybe they only use one job instead of two jobs. Like that can be interpreted in many different ways. But the idea is still sound. $15 an hour minimum wage is great for the people who are the weakest, who make the least amount of money. That helps them the most. And it helps a lot of people. And it doesn't hardly cost us anything. So now we have dude, come on. I gotta fix that. It doesn't hardly cost us anything. So this is like a brilliant idea. I think we really need to do this. Study after study shows that the best way of helping the poorest people is to give them cash. Just give them cash. All these other convoluted schemes to meter the money and to keep track of it, or to only give vouchers instead of actual cash, all of that is crap. I mean, it's not crap, but it's not nearly as good as just giving them cash. If you let people be self-sufficient, it goes a long way. So that's one of the pieces of news that came out. The CBO, the Congressional Budget Office. Another story that came out was that, if you recall, there was a Democratic staffer by the name of Seth Rich. Now, he was murdered in Washington, D.C. one night. It was a mugging or something. But it was like, they don't know who did it. They can't find the guy. He just got murdered and then ran away. That was it. the Russians, they found out that the Russians took the story and created a conspiracy theory out of it, and then planted this conspiracy theory in the United States social media. And then that conspiracy theory, the Russian conspiracy theory, was picked up by Fox News and amplified by Hannity. So, and then it blew up, right? This created this whole distrust, this whole false narrative about, oh, the DNC is hiding something with WikiLeaks, and Seth Rich, he's onto it, and that's why Hillary murdered Seth Rich, and da. This is all BS. It's all BS. It's all planted by Russians and amplified by Fox News and the right-wing sphere. Mark Levin, Hannity, all those guys. Russian propaganda amplified by the right-wing news. But we all know, right? We all know that the GOP is on board with the Russians. They're traitors. We all know this. We all know this. Donald Trump agrees with Vladimir Putin that Robert Mueller's assessment that the Trump campaign coordinated with Russia was false. Look here. It's not here. Is it still? Do I still have it? No, hold on. I'll get to these other guys in a bit. I don't have it up. Wait, here. Text. Putin's words. All right, here. This is the one I want to put up, and hide that one. All right. Russian President Vladimir Putin has dismissed Special Counsel Robert Mueller's report and investigation, agreeing with President Donald Trump's assessment that the entire probe was, quote, a witch hunt. We said from the start that Mr. Mueller's notorious investigation would find no evidence, Putin said Tuesday, the Moscow Times reported. Therefore, it was clear to us in advance that it would end up as the mountain gave birth to a mouse, as we say in Russia. The Russian leader then reiterated his position that his country did not interfere in the 2016 election, calling the entire Mueller investigation complete nonsense. He used a talking point frequently voiced by Trump, blaming the Democrats' unwillingness to accept they had been defeated. This is Vladimir Putin saying this. So we have a whole bunch of Americans, like we have President Trump, we have his entire we have Bill Barr, we have all the Trump allies, like all these senators, Trump, and all these GOP representatives, like any of the representatives from Texas, like the majority of the Republican representatives from Texas agree with Putin that American intelligence is wrong. That the American hero Robert Mueller is a liar. That all these GOP candidates, all representatives from Texas, all agree. That Crenshaw, I think his name is totally. He's sure that Robert Mueller is a liar. That even though the military gave Robert Mueller a medal for honor, the GOP is saying, oh yeah, you have no honor. Yeah, you have nothing. The U.S. military is lied, is wrong, was stupid for giving you a medal because Robert Mueller, because we're with Putin. We agree that Putin, that you're a liar and that there was nothing wrong. Your entire investigation, all your work, all your honor, Robert Mueller, is bunk. We're with Putin, the GOP is saying. So these Russians who have said Robert Mueller is lying and that they didn't interfere in the 2016 elections and that they didn't have this social media campaign, these Russians planted the story about Seth Rich, which tried to distract from the real crime of Trump colluding with Putin. I mean, here it's happening again, right? It's there it is again. I remember talking to this white supremacist when this happened, and he would not, like, even though all these signs are pointing to foreign interference and foreign conspiracy, this white supremacist would not see it. They said, if the Seth Rich thing is true, that invalidates everything you're saying. And then I'm like, yeah, and if my grandma had wheels, she'd be a bicycle. but she doesn't, so she's not. but he couldn't get off his potentially. The potential that he's right was more important than the actuality of what was really there. And that's the brainwashing that works a lot. It's more attractive to me to believe that it's this way than to accept the way it really is. You are lost. So, BuzzFeed News, which refuses to recognize their union, and they need to because their union, their workers do awesome, their reporters do amazing work. BuzzFeed needs to recognize their workers' union. There's a union at BuzzFeed. Recognize it because they do awesome work. BuzzFeed their news crew is amazing. Their reporters are awesome. I love reporters. I don't give them enough love. I'm sorry. I mean, I'm angry at newspapers as an organization. I'm not angry at the workers. I'm not angry at the reporters. They don't make the decisions. They're the ones who write the stories, and then they get rung through a number of layers of processing before it gets to the print. But yeah, their work is amazing because we wouldn't know otherwise. We wouldn't know. And as Americans, it's our duty to know. We have to know. And so these reporters are doing the work to make sure that we can know. It's our duty to support them. So BuzzFeed, recognize your freaking union. BuzzFeed News has tapes. Now, this is international news. But remember, I'm trying to tell you that this Russian operation of interfering in other people's countries to overthrow democracy is not a new thing. It's not a brand new thing. It's not something that they just came up with. They did once and then they put away again. They're continually refining it. It's a war. It's a war. It's a war. They used it on Georgia, that little tiny country. Then they scaled it up to use it on Ukraine. Then they scaled it up to use it on the UK for Brexit and on the US for Trump. And they're scaling it up even more. They keep scaling it up. They're doing it in Italy. Now they're trying to break apart the EU. So remember, Russia one-on-one versus any one country is probably stronger than any other country in its region. You know, like Russia versus California, Russia would win. Russia versus Texas, Russia would win. Russia versus New York, Russia wins. Russia versus Florida, Russia wins. Russia versus Oklahoma, Russia wins. That's the way it works. Russia versus France, Russia wins. Russia versus Germany, Russia wins. Russia versus the UK, Russia wins. Russia versus like pretty much any other, maybe not China, but yeah, that's the thing. Russia versus any one country is probably going to win. Russia versus the EU, Russia loses. Russia versus the United States, Russia loses. So if you're Russia, you need to break apart these blocks. You have to break them apart. Russia versus NATO, Russia loses. So yeah, as Russia, you need to break apart these blocks. So your entire war is against democracy, the thing that binds these blocks together. So you want to sow distrust and doubt in your government and in their government and in their ideals, to make them doubt and give up on their ideals and submit to an elite that will give them reassurance and make them feel strong again. So that the power comes from the elite and not from themselves. So Russia, there are tapes now of Russia working with the far right, the Nazi group in Italy. Italy has its own Nazi groups, fascist groups, and I think they even have power. I think one of the prime ministers is a fascist prime minister, or fascist president. The fascists have a lot of power in Italy, and now there are tapes where the Russians and the Italians government, the fascists, are working together. They talk about how they're gonna spend money on certain campaigns and launder it, and also they have tons of tapes of this. BuzzFeed News, these reporters are the ones who broke this story. Pay them, recognize their union. But they're doing it all over the world. You have to understand, this is a world war. They're doing it all over the world to all the democracies. It's a war. It's a war. They sponsor nationalist, populist, far-right movements in Europe, the Russians. They spend money on them, like they spent money over here on the NRA. So, another example of how Trump weakens America is, and democracy, is, you know how in Hong Kong, I have emeralds. I can trade this guy now. Ooh, coral. What can I use coral for? Lime. Ooh, lime. I don't need lime. Ooh, I can gunpowder. I don't know. There's a lot of gunpowder I can buy. But that's expensive. Dude, gunpowder for an emerald? I think I'm gonna do that. Actually, I don't need it because I can make gunpowder farms if I need it. I don't need anything here except coral, but I don't even need coral because you can't grow it. It doesn't grow. I think you need a silk touch pickaxe to move it. So Hong Kong. Okay, now let's look over in China at Hong Kong. Hong Kong was a protectorate. It used to be under the UK. So let's go back a little bit more. The UK, Europe used to have a pretty big grip on China. China had a hard time coming together, and that allowed the European powers to take advantage of China. And if you go to Shanghai, you will see there are quarters, different parts of Shanghai that are from the colonial era, when these European powers forced agreements with the Chinese government at that time, the weak Chinese government at that time, to basically let them have that part of the city for like 100 years. And this let them let the European powers have like mini countries inside of China where they can control things. And so Hong Kong was one of those. Shanghai had a bunch of quarters, just like the French Quarter and the British Quarter and like things like that. And there might even be a Dutch Quarter. I don't even know. But Hong Kong was like a city, I guess, that was under British rule. I guess the British built it up. I don't know. But they made an agreement with China to transfer it back to China after 100 years. So time's up. And so it was transferred back to China. But the problem is that all the Hong Kongers grew up and grew up under democracy, under the idea that people can determine themselves. And when you get moved to China, that gets changed. The Chinese, oh man. Here, hey, what's up, dude? Yar, oh, you look tough, huh? Here, why don't you just chill out in your room, or in my room here. Yeah, hang out here for a bit. All right, more coffee. So China is authoritarian. They have the elite. I mean, they have a quote nominal vote, but it's not real in China. So the power rests in the hands of the elite, and the elite make all the decisions. and they don't they don't really listen to the people. If the people get out of hand, they kill them. So that's why we don't like the Chinese government. But so China is slowly trying to assert its power over the Hong Kong people. But of course, the Hong Kong people don't want it. They like freedom. They like determining having control of their own government. They don't want their hands chopped off. Is what they're saying. They recognize the government is their organ, and they don't want to lose control over those hands, over that government, over that organ. So they staged a massive protest in Hong Kong. Like thousands, hundreds of thousands of people showed up, and I continue to occupy and show up and hang out. And they're looking for international support, right? Because you need international support from all the other democracies hanging together. Because that's where we get our strength, is by hanging together. But Trump doesn't believe in democracy. Trump is opposed to democracy. Democracy is Trump's enemy. Remember, in a democracy, Trump loses. Trump lost the popular vote. The majority of people didn't want Trump. So Trump doesn't like democracy. Trump wants to get rid of democracy. Trump is not a champion of democracy. So, Trump started a trade war with China, and he's losing. A bunch of our farmers are getting wrecked because of this stupid trade war with China that Trump started. So Trump said, hey, China, I'll stop pressing you on Hong Kong if you give me a break on the trade war. And China said, okay, that's a deal. If you stop championing, so China said, oh, okay, so you stop being the champion for democracy, and we will spend money on you. Deal? And Trump said, yes, China, okay. So China said, okay, great. So Trump stopped being a champion for democracy, and China did not buy anything from the United States. They already have other markets. They already found other places to sell their stuff and get their stuff. They already made the deals. You lost, Trump. You're an idiot with your trade war. That was dumb. So Trump got nothing. But, he's a terrible negotiator. He never gets anything. He surrendered to North Korea, so North Korea is just gonna make their nukes, because he just surrendered to them. He went to the country to surrender, and now South Korea's got to scramble because they have no allies anymore. Trump surrendered to North Korea, so South Korea has to figure out a way of making nice with North Korea now that they don't have a friend in the United States, because Trump surrendered to North Korea and said, yeah, we don't care if you make nukes, go ahead. Man, oh my gosh. All right. So, let me tell you about what happened to me when I went to the Salem Saturday Market. You have to understand, people are getting to know who I am at the market locally. They recognize me. And I'm not a pleasant person. They're not happy when they see me. People are not happy when they see me. The merchants are not happy about me. They don't like me. And the fascists, of course, don't like me because I call them out, and they're exposed when I'm there. I take away their mask. And they know this, and so they have started organizing. There's more of them than me, right? I'm the only guy out there holding the sign, but there's lots of Nazis. And so what they do now, what I found out later on, is they bait me, and to try to get me to react as bad as possible. And then, without me realizing it, from another angle where I can't see, they record me. So they team up. They work as a team, and they purposely try to provoke me to get it on camera, so then they go to the staff, who then show it to the state trooper. So what happened was some guy came up and was being Nazi. Right? I called him out as being a Nazi, and I went to take his picture, and I was on my phone to take his picture, and he stood right in my face. And so I pushed him to back off while I was on my phone. And by doing this, he said, "Oh, you're harassing me." Right? So, like, I was on my phone, and so then from another side, they were recording it. This guy coming up to my face, and then me pushing him back. They recorded me, pushing him back. That's what they wanted. Because then they're like, "Oh, great," and they called the police. And the state trooper came by and said, "Hey, I saw this video. You touched this guy. That means you're harassing. He can get in your face. He can be around you, but you can't touch him. And so if he wants to press charges on you, I have, as a state trooper, I have to do my job, and my job will be this." One of the things I could potentially do is arrest you for harassment, because yeah, you touched him. You can't touch him. He can get in your face, but you can't touch him, because him being here is not threatening to you, but you touching him is harassment. So that's what they used on me. So it's hard, right? There's a lot of them and only one of me. So like I wasn't prepared. So I had to leave. Because I made a mistake. But in the meantime, before I left, right, I got a bunch of pictures. So one of the pictures I got was this guy here. Now before I get to him, I want to talk to you about this other thing. Not this one. This one here. Now, sea lioning. What is sea lioning? When someone says, "Oh, that guy is sea lioning," what is that? It's a kind of trolling. Now, let me talk to you about this. Now, a troll is a person who doesn't speak in good faith, right? All they want to do is make you feel bad, and to spread lies. That's what a troll does. They want your attention so they can continue to spread lies and to demoralize you. That's what a troll does. So when people say, "Oh, Russian trolls," what they're talking about are people sitting in St. Petersburg in an office on the computer with a fake profile that sounds American, telling you things like America is not a democracy and Mueller's report didn't find anything. Right? These are all lies. But they're trying to get you to argue, to demoralize you, and to spread disinformation. Now, a form of trolling is called sea lioning. Oh, you can't even see me. Yeah. A form of trolling is called sea lioning. Sea lioning is a type of trolling or harassment which consists of pursuing people with persistent requests for evidence or repeated questions. The harasser who uses this tactic also uses fake civility so as to discredit their target. The term arises from a 2014 edition of the webcomic Wondermark, where a character expresses a dislike of sea lions, and a passing sea lion repeatedly asks the character to explain. So here, let's see that comic, right? That comic looks like this. All right, can you see that? So that comic says, "I don't mind most marine mammals, but sea lions, I could do without sea lions." And the other person says, "Don't say that out loud." And then next part, a sea lion shows up and says, "Pardon me, I couldn't help it over here." And he's like, "Oh, now you've done it." Sea lion, "I would like to have a civil conversation about your statement. Would you mind showing me evidence of any negative thing any sea lion has ever done to you?" "Go away." "There's no need to raise your voice. I'm right here. I'm just curious if you have any sources to back up your opinion." "You are in my house." "You made a statement in public for all to hear. Are you unable to defend the statements you make, or simply unwilling to have a reasoned conversation?" And the guy says, "I told you, dude, sea lions." "I have been unfailingly polite, and you two have been nothing but rude." "I am trying to eat breakfast." "Very well, we shall resume in an hour." That guy is sea lioning, right? He has no intention of having a real conversation. Just go away, right? But no, he wants to cause problems. That sea lion just wants to annoy and harass you, right? That's all he wants to do is annoy and harass. He doesn't actually care, that sea lion. He just wants to harass you. So this happens in real life too. Let me show you. When I was at the market, this guy right here, this guy is a white supremacist. Right? Now, yeah, surprise, huh? Right? This guy, white supremacist? Really? All right. So how do you know he's a white supremacist? Well, so I was there, and he came up to me, and he used the fallacy that, oh, I'm a veteran, therefore my opinion is worth more than yours. Right? So he's like, I fought for your right to be able to say that. And I'm like, that doesn't give your opinion any more weight than what I'm saying. And then then you know, because you have to remember, he's teaming up with other people. So off to the side, I saw another person with a video camera on, you know, from his group recording this. So on this part, he gets all blustery and says, I fought for your rights, I did this, I did that, rah, 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 rah. And then he gets real close to me, like, so that no one else can hear. And he calls me, he's all, N-word. And I'm like, ah! Oh, there it is. There's the Nazi in you. There it is. I knew it'd come out. And he backs up. He's like, what are you talking about? What are you talking about? And I'm like, what'd you just say? And of course he wouldn't say it. Of course he wouldn't. Because the whole point was he was hoping to get me to do something. The whole point is to bait me. Because they have a team. All these Nazis are teaming up. Right? Nazis don't care about free speech. They care about authority. That's all they care about. Power. So, and I know this because, how do I know this? Because this other couple walked by that they confirmed that they're Nazis, and I called them Nazis very loudly. And then while the state trooper and I were having a conversation, this Nazi dude came up to me and tried to get the trooper, tried to use the trooper to get me in trouble. He's like, oh, trooper, this guy called me a Nazi. That's harassment. He can't call me a Nazi. That's harassment for him to call me a Nazi. And the trooper's like, no, that's free speech. And the guy said, I have nothing but respect for you, troopers, but this guy called me a Nazi. You should arrest him because he called me a Nazi. So this Nazi tried to use the state trooper to arrest me. You know, trying to use power, state power, to get me to shut up because they don't really believe in free speech. But they love power. They love authority. So that guy was all about the state trooper. Oh, but he didn't really actually respect the state trooper because the state trooper was trying to have a conversation, and this guy interrupted it to get me in trouble. That was his only business. He had no other reason to talk to the state trooper other than to tell the state trooper that I called him a Nazi and that's illegal. And that state trooper should arrest me for me calling him a Nazi. So yeah, dude, Nazis, they're everywhere. Here, let's look here. That guy's a Nazi, right? These are people, that group right there is the group that brought the signs that said Russia is not our enemy. That our government is our enemy. This guy's just a random Nazi who wanted to take a picture of me too. Alright. So if you'll notice that all these Nazis are all older white males or whitish males. You know, all these guys are old white. So they're baby boomers, dude. The Nazis are baby boomers. A lot of them. I mean, not all of them. That guy back there, see, he's flipping me off. So a lot of these Nazis are baby boomers. They're like entitled white men, old white men. And there's the state troopers one time coming to see me. It happens a lot, right? Every other week, state troopers come to me. So, and that's the staff talking to them. So yeah, it happens, dude. It's a thing that's going on. So the Nazis are organizing to try to bait me into doing something that they can record and then spread around. And it worked one time. So now I know. Next time, now I know. Now the solid legal ground I was standing on is not there anymore. I have to be real careful now. Because now there's an incident. Now there's a report. Now there's a note. Whereas there wasn't one before. So I can't at all be baited into anything. It's gonna be rough, right? But this is my duty. I gotta do it. It's not like I have a choice. Do you think I want to be there, dude? I'd rather stay at home on Saturday mornings and like drink coffee and cook breakfast and play Minecraft. I had all sorts of plans and energy that morning to do stuff. I have the most energy in the morning, and as the day goes on, I get less and less energy. So when I get back from doing this protest at the Salem Saturday Market, I'm exhausted. I don't want to. I've had people yell at me. I've been yelling. I stood out in the hot sun. I'm exhausted. I don't really want to do anything, so I don't do anything after Saturday. I'm not doing this because it's awesome fun for me. I'm doing this because I have to do it, and it's not. I don't get paid for it. It's not a job. It's a duty. It's so. So yeah, it gets harder and harder. It's getting harder and harder, man. I did not want to go yesterday, and I had to go. I was late. I showed up late because I didn't want to go. I had to buy sunblock and sunglasses because I knew I was going to stand in the sun again. Yeah, it's so not fun. But I have to be more and more careful now. Now they're going to really try to get me, because now they're filming everything I do. So now I have to, and they're gonna try to bait me. These Nazis, man, and they're Nazis. Don't let them convince you otherwise. They're Nazis. They're Nazis. That's the word you use to call them what they are. They're Nazis, and they'll howl. They howl when you call them that, but that's what they are. Yeah, one white guy was like, "Hey man, I appreciate your message, but when you yell, you make my kid afraid. You should probably not yell." I don't care about your kid. What about the kids in the concentration camps? Oh, don't yell about kids in concentration camps. You're upsetting my wonderful white child that's safe here with me. Don't yell about the kids in the concentration camp. They're not important. What's important is my little child that's holding my hand right now. Well, sorry, buddy. Yeah. All sorts of stuff. Man, oh. Yep, I have to be real careful now. I hate going there, and it's going to be even worse. Because now I know now they know they can try to bait me. With the phone. I mean, I should have known better, but I mean, like, I get riled up, right? When people are like, "Yeah, I love putting kids in cages," that makes me angry. I mean, because they're corroding our nation right before our eyes. I haven't gone anywhere. So I was supposed to make like a melon farm, or at least start a melon farm. So to recap, the Confederacy resurrected in the Republicans, conspired with Russia and a bunch of other countries, Turkey, UAE, Israel, Russia, and then there's one more. Saudi Arabia, of course, to overthrow American democracy. Well, and Russia is doing this to other countries, other democracies around the world, such as the UK, Italy. They're trying in France. They're trying everywhere. Germany. They're trying in every democracy. They're trying to do it by funneling money and support to far right-wing parties, movements that seek to shatter the unity, the bloc of democracies that holds things together, the Western world together. Because Russia cannot defeat any one of these any one of these blocks. It needs to break these blocks into pieces, then we can defeat each power separately. So our main goal is to hang together, to hold on to each other. The forces, the reason why they're attacking now is because the United States is on the verge of a transformation, a metamorphosis. The United States has housed within it for a very long time, like white supremacy, a white supremacist movement. And that white supremacist movement has to be defeated in order for us to move forward, because it has a stranglehold on our federal government. When America purges itself of these white supremacists and these fascist forces, it's locked potential that's been locked away and wasted is going to burst forth, and it'll be an incredible amount of productivity, just that you can't even conceive of. And we're going to need it because we have unprecedented challenges before us. So again, all this is happening up on these higher levels, but you have to be aware of it, because that's your duty as a citizen of a democracy. If you were if you were a slave, then you wouldn't have to worry about this stuff. If you were a serf, you wouldn't have to worry about this stuff. If you were only a consumer in the market, you wouldn't have to worry about this stuff. If all you did was serve the market, you wouldn't have to worry about this. But you're not. You're a citizen of a democracy. You have responsibilities. It's important that you know what's going on and you know the truth, and not just, you have to, it's a lot of work to know what the truth is. But you gotta know it. It's your responsibility in order to make good choices. Wow, I just talked forever. I gotta change scenery, I think. I hang out my base too much. I think next episode I'm gonna go to the ocean. Ooh, no, I hate skeletons. Damn it. Look at this guy. Yeah. Alright. Alright, America. Well, hey, thanks for hanging out. I apologize for my failing at the Saturday market. And I hope that doesn't, like, I don't know. I hope it doesn't hurt you, diminish me too much in your view. I'm sorry for my transgression. Alright, until next time. Peace. PoGokeRo out.